I think just keep going and things will get better soon. Delayed gratification with business. You're always the last person to get paid, and people don't know that. And you're going to have hard days and you're going to have days that you want to kind of quit. But for me, it's just, you just keep going and the sunshine will come eventually.
So you're kind of changing the mold. You're taking what people have done in the past, almost turning it on its head.
Because I get messages all the time, which like it's okay, but I can't be having 6 or 7 coffees every day. I have a heart attack.
Hey everybody, just wanted to take a second and tell you thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. If there's one more thing you could do is hit that like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. Now, back to the podcast. I think it's interesting that, you come from New Zealand. It's a little bit different. I've seen a lot of business people come out of New Zealand as of recent.
Yeah. It's always like everyone says that New Zealand's like this tiny little place to the bottom of the earth. But
Right.
It's like everyone is ambitious, which is like cool. Obviously, it's not like America where like the sales culture is huge in America. But in New Zealand, kind of like, there's some big names that comes out of New Zealand, which is a really cool thing.
Interesting. I was kind of curious as well if you could kind of give us a background of like how you got started in the industry, I know that there's a lot of bigger firms out there, and I know y'all are kind of in the more startup mentality. You give us like a little snippet about that.
Yeah. So I guess like I wasn't always living in New Zealand. So I was born in Hong Kong till I was about kind of like 13, 14, before moving to New Zealand myself. And the reason was that I wasn't like a good kid in Hong Kong, if that makes sense. Like in Hong Kong, everyone's like very smart and kind of what you learn when you're 12 years old is what you learn in New Zealand when you're 18 type thing.
It's like a
So
blend of so many cultures in Hong Kong now.
yeah, for sure. So in Hong Kong, there's like 2 different places. So like there's the island side, which is where all the expats are, and there's like a local side where the like the Chinese and the Hong Kong people are. So that was where I was, and I didn't speak any English at all. And I was kind of like 13, moved over to New Zealand. And I'd say for the first 2 years, I had no idea what was going on. Didn't speak any English. Lived in a small town called Masterton. I think there's only 15,000 people in there. So obviously no one spoke Chinese too. So I was left out in the cold pretty quick.
That's funny.
But yeah, from there I went to university down south it's called Lincoln University. I studied a Bachelor of Agriculture out of all things.
Interesting.
Which is fun. I was kind of given the ultimatum of either my parents would stop kind of supporting me or I go and do a bit of study, kind of like Asian parents, I guess.
Right.
So I chose study, obviously. Then out of university, I worked kind of in door-to-door sales, so like door knocking and
What
kind
were
of
you
like
selling?
selling insurance reviews, like free insurance reviews for people. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done
Yeah,
in
I've
my
heard.
life.
Door-to-door sales is no joke.
Yeah. Like looking back on it, I think that's probably like one of the best things that I've ever done. Because when I was a bit younger, I was a lot like more awkward. Like I was an awkward kid. Didn't like to talk to strangers and stuff like that. And there's no better way of talking to a stranger than like
Yeah,
door to
no, that
door.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So I
sure.
did that for 6 months. Then the place that I was working at offered me a job as an advisor, kind of like selling insurance and KiwiSaver, which is like the superannuation in New Zealand. Then I was there for 2.5, 3 years. Basically, it got to a stage where it wasn't really like there wasn't like a long perspective for it. And so yeah, we just started our own thing to hopefully make the industry a bit better, even as well as we can
Right.
anyways. And just kind of being different, I guess, because
Right.
like, as you were saying before, yeah, like all the brokerages around New Zealand are big brokerages that are owned by Australians. normally. So just kind of flipping that switch. People really like us. I think we're just kind of in that niche.
Mm-hmm.
I always say like the bigger firms only look after like the top 5% of
Right.
New Zealanders, for example. We have some clients in that top 5%, but our main client base are from the 5 to about 15%. So like our size of the deals that we do aren't as big,
Right.
but and speed plays a big part of what we do as well. Like most other firms will take a couple of days for them to get back to a client. And for us, we tend to aim for like 24, 48 hours
Mm.
max. The biggest like difference with us is like obviously that speed that I was talking about
Mm-hmm.
before. But secondly, it's like with brokerages, they'll say, because we have access to basically all the providers that will
Mm-hmm.
work with an advisor. But with most other brokerages, they have a long-term relationship with one provider, for example. That's kind of generally where their kind of bias is towards.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they have that relationship and that provider pays them more, I'd imagine.
Yeah. They get a bigger percentage, right?
Yeah, yeah. Whereas for us, it's like we're very client first type culture.
Mm-hmm.
And integrity plays a big part of kind of like what we do as well. And we want to make sure that the policy that we put a client in is the best in the market for their situation.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't really have any bias with whatever provider. Ours gets paid the same no matter what provider
Mm.
they put them with. So if that provider would get paid less, we just cop it as a brokerage. So the advisors don't have a bias.
Cool. So with this podcast, we're trying to target towards the more younger founder entrepreneur people. I'm curious, how old are you?
28.
28. Oh, wow, you don't look 28. You look young. You look young. For a lot of young, like new entrepreneurs, we have a hard time distinguishing our value prop. You know what I mean? Kind of what we're gonna sell to the people to get the first customers in the door. I'm just kind of curious what your value prop was in the early days to get people to come in and actually partner with y'all before you could grow to a bigger size. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we kind of to begin with, we did a lot of like lead purchasing,
Mm.
just like advertising, because we're very focused on kind of like getting leads in, advertising, putting our name out there. So I guess to begin with, it was just as everyone does, get all your friends, family,
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
neighbors to
Mm-hmm.
buy from you first. Then once you get the money churning in, the money coming in, then that's when you pay money on advertising, on
Right.
buying leads and stuff like that.
Right.
It's just hard work, eh?
Yeah. And along that line, like when you had your first profitable months or years, what were the biggest reinvestments you saw, like the opportunities to reinvest? Was it in like people? Was it in ads? Like where was that reinvestment going?
Yeah, basically I'll say about like 60 or 70% of all the revenue that we generate goes back into the advisor. Yeah, so it's because we're such a lead hungry business
Mm.
for like new clients as such. So we spend a lot on the lead front as well. But yeah, I guess the reinvestment is mainly leads and the advisor. We believe in like a decent office space as well. So most people now, New Zealand, a lot of people work from home, which like it's good. Like post COVID, everyone started working from home, which is good. But then it gets a bit like boring, and
Yeah.
people that work from home are the people that probably just don't want to work in general.
That's what and over here they were having that push to work from home for a while, and now like this last year there's been a lot of push to bring everyone back into the office, you know what I mean? And a lot of people have a lot of stuff to say about it, so they're not very happy.
Yeah, yeah. So like for us, our Auckland office, we're right in the city. So like the office space is quite expensive on the more
Mm.
expensive end,
Mhm.
but we've just created such a nice, well, hopefully such a nice environment that
Mhm.
people want to come into work. And when you come into work, then you could collaborate a lot better,
Mhm.
I think. Yeah, yeah. So kind of with our office, because they're
Mhm.
all kind of advisors, so they're like salespeople.
They're doing their own thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you're not making enough sales for that month, you only get your base pay.
Right.
Like you kind of want to, for most people, they have the ambition to want to make
Mhm.
more.
Mhm.
and
I see.
our commission is uncapped as well, so they can make as much as they want.
I see.
Yeah, and even like with our admin people, they all have a kind of like an incentive structure as well. So they get paid like a bonus if they refer on to another advisor. Yeah, yeah. Just so
Interesting.
like, because everyone wants to earn more money, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's just like a,
It's a big
and like if
incentive.
you, yeah, even if you're
Yeah.
working in admin, there's reason for you to make more money.
I've always heard New Zealand's kind of a smaller country now.
Yeah.
How is it selling in, because for us over here, you know, we have the whole United States and then some other place. So I mean there's a infinite people you could sell to, right? I'm curious how you've kind of worked around that, work having a smaller sample size to sell to. Has that been an issue for y'all or no?
Yeah. So it's definitely been an issue because, like, in New Zealand, it's not very, like, as a business owner, it's not very
Mm-hmm.
scalable because
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only like 5 million people in New Zealand.
Wow, 5 million?
Yeah, not much.
That's crazy. I live in Orlando. I think there might be 5 million people that live in Orlando. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's crazy.
probably just in one city, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so there's not a lot of people. So like I don't think our insurance and superannuation arm will ever get above like 35 advisors just because like that, yeah, any more than that, you're kind of just saturating the market. We would love to look at Australia as an expansion. It's really funny. It's like New Zealanders always look at Australia to
Hmm.
scale, and Australians always look at America to scale.
It's like a jump. There's like jumps to it, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
America's crazy. Was it 300 million people? Like
Oh,
literally
at
just,
least.
yeah, infinite people to sell to.
Yeah.
Or like, even if you want to go further, go to China, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
what,
true,
1
true.
billion people to sell to.
I'm curious how your business kind of interacts with the government over there. Do y'all have any like heavy government oversight on the stuff y'all do, or has there been any stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. So the regulating body is called the Financial Market Authority
Hmm.
in New Zealand, and they are like very, very strict as to like what you can and can't do. But we have used a kind of like an external compliance company that looks over all of our
Hmm.
documents and stuff like that to keep us kind of safe. And that was as well one of the reasons why. So there's me and a co-founder.
Right.
And when we first started this company, we were just going to like have two of us just being really good advisors and not
Hmm.
hiring people, didn't want to scale or anything like that. But with the regulations, it's getting too expensive for a lot of people.
Mm.
So like for us, the only way is to either get a bigger company or like scale or not be able to afford doing
Right.
business anymore.
Right. Interesting. How you decided to jump into like start this business. For me, my business, I kind of, it's just what I knew. You know what I mean? I was just like, I don't want to wait any longer to start something. I just want to do what I know how to do. Is that kind of, was that your experience as well?
Yeah, a little bit different. I've never really looked at ever like starting my own business
Mm,
because I always thought it's like one of the hardest things
mm.
ever. Um,
It probably is. It probably is.
it's just the extra stress.
Literally.
Basically, the company that I was working at before, so with insurance and superannuation, you get a trail, so like a recurring income that keeps coming every year, or every week, every fortnight for you to have your clients in that in your book. So the company that I was at before, they didn't offer that incentive. So you're kind of just always chasing your own tail. You're always chasing your
Mm,
next deal as such.
mm.
So obviously, like the only way to go from there is do your own thing.
Right. Exactly. You're basically doing your own thing at that point, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we just want it to be different. So all of our advisors get trail, so they get the recurring income that we pay them, which is like a big reason. Like no one ever grows up being 12 years old and say, I want to be selling insurance.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, interesting. I'm wondering as well if you could kind of take us back. How long has this business been in business for?
Yeah. Um, 5 years now, I believe.
Oh
We're heading
wow.
into the fifth
So you're
year.
like right on that midway level, right? Like you've been in it for a while.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I always say I tell all my friends with business, the first 2 years, it's really good when you're all the
Mm.
hype. Like everything's going well, you're
Mm-hmm.
happy, you're making money. Then the third and fourth year, that's the hardest.
Yeah,
We
that
need to
makes
build
sense.
systems. Then, like employment law in New Zealand is quite harsh.
How so?
People could literally sue you for anything. Well, you can't sue
Really?
people in New Zealand, but they could just say that you've not treated them right. They could just say that yeah, then you go to court and you probably lose.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so third and fourth year is always like that. Then I say fifth year, well, hopefully we're getting into it, but fifth year, it's normally when everything starts to go well.
Right, right, right.
Hopefully, you've got management in place.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your systems in place. You're finally turning over a bit of money because third and fourth year you probably won't. Or
Yeah,
for us anyways, we didn't make much money.
makes sense. Could tell us a little bit about what your role was in the beginning, in the early days, you know what I mean? When it was just you and your co-founder. Um, were you more of the operations person? Were you more the person selling? Or like what was your role in the early days? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big sales
Mm,
guy. Like I love selling. That's what I'm kind of passionate about. Like I love advising.
mm,
Um, so like for me, I think me and my co-founder, we work pretty well because I'm more of a salesperson. I like to get out there. Um, I like to be in front of like things like this.
mm-hmm.
Whereas he's more kind of like back end
Right.
system compliance, like things that if I was to do it, I will just bud my head in the wall the whole day.
Yeah, I
But
get
I
that.
could teach people how to sell, I could teach people how to talk to a client, or I could just go to events and
Mm-hmm.
be there and talk to people that most people don't want to talk to.
Right. I'm kind of
Yeah.
also curious how are the leads coming in?
Yeah, so we used to have a door-to-door marketing team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was, what was that? Yeah, that was probably like 3 years ago. And so it's a team of like 6 people or 7 people, and they just go street by street and just see if people are interested. But then in the last 2 years, we've completely moved into digital. So it's all just on Google Meets. Yeah, so it's basically all digitally. So we do a couple of different sources. So we do a kind of like a pay per lead type thing that we buy from like advertising companies, and we do our own marketing as well, which generates good leads, generates like a few leads, but not to the quality that we're buying
Mm-hmm.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Then once the client comes in, then the advisor gives them a call. But if they don't answer, then it goes through like a nurturing
Mm-hmm.
program that we have. Yeah, so eventually they become clients, hopefully.
Right.
Digital, definitely better ROI, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because like New Zealand's a very, very small place and there's not a lot of people in each city. So I'm in Auckland, which has just got 1 million people, but our door-to-door team is in Christchurch, which is only have 200,000 people. So like you go around the city pretty quickly, then you go back around the city again.
That's hilarious.
Whereas for like digital, we have clients all over New Zealand,
Mm.
even in like tiny little pockets, places that no one's ever heard of. And digital works better as well, is because we can see so many more clients. Yeah, like we could see like normally door to door, if we actually go and see the client, we could probably see like 2 or 3 clients a day because you have that travel time.
Right.
Whereas like digitally, we could see like 5 or 6
So you're
every
just seeing
day
more.
easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Numbers
yeah,
are just bigger.
yeah, yeah, for
Interesting.
sure.
How much of the insurance game would you say is just kind of a numbers games? Because like for me, like building new business, a lot of it is just, getting out in front of people, finding the numbers and like figuring it out as you go so you get better over time. I'm curious how that relates to your work as well.
Yeah, like insurance. Yeah, it's a hard one. Insurance is very much like a high ticket.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance provider pays very well in New Zealand. Um, so like, well, it would be good to have more clients, but for each advisor, if they bring on like one new client every week, that's generally doing really well.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah.
How many people do you
Um,
think you have to reach out to get one client?
we've got so I think every six leads that we buy, or every six leads that comes in, one of them
Hmm.
becomes clients on average. And those are new clients, not including like the re-nurturing
Hmm.
process. But yeah, it's pretty high, I think.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
traditionally people don't get service.
Mm.
Uh, like once people bring them in as a client, they don't like, yeah, no one
Yeah, like you
cares
said
about them
earlier.
after.
Right, 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 right. Nobody's
Yeah, so
talking to
we're
them.
just
Nobody's
changing
making
that.
sure. No, yeah, that makes sense. That's super interesting. And that's kind of like what you're talking about, kind of the disruption piece. A lot of other firms aren't doing that, so you came in and were like, you know what, we can definitely do this.
Yeah, yeah. I think just like caring for the client is a big
Mm.
part. Like so many people just do it because, like it's just the money
Right.
aspect. Whereas for us, obviously we still need to make enough to keep the business going. Uh, but like for us, it's very much like client first. Like integrity plays a big part. It's very easy to put a client into a worse spot.
Mm.
So we just want to make sure that we're putting the client first and not do anything that we shouldn't.
Do people know the space well to be able to distinguish good offers from bad offers, or they just kind of whoever comes to the door first, they'll take the offer from, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I know in America, people love being sold to
True.
because like tips and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but in New Zealand, people hate being sold to. So like
Interesting.
we never talk about like price as such. We talk more about like the product, the quality of it, reason for it, like the pain points of like
Right.
why you need it. Then price is just a factor that you have to pay for
Right. The value.
getting it.
Right.
And that's kind of how we get around the like it's not sales, it's more like protecting what you need. And with the super, that's with the KiwiSaver side of things, that's probably like the easiest part as well, because no one ever gets advice on it.
Mm.
Yeah, so we just give that advice and put the client into the right fund type, and that could literally be like the difference of like a couple $100,000 by the time you retire. And that's just from doing one thing when they're in 20s. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so back to kind of the early entrepreneur. I'm kind of curious. Everyone gets told to take a lot of risk in the new ventures. I'm curious what your relationship to taking risk was when you first started the business, and then now that you're 5 years in and you kind of have a better understanding and a team around you.
Yeah. I love taking risks to an extent that is like it can be bad. But how I always look at it is like that's why for me having a co-founder has really helped. Like I think if I was to do this myself, we wouldn't be where we are now. So like my risk level's like here, but my co-founder Tom, he's here, if not even lower. He hates risk.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
So
with
did
us
y'all butt
both,
heads a little bit in the beginning?
yeah, we definitely did. I guess that's why we don't live in the same city. No, no, I think like someone's going to compromise on different things. So I think we were good at compromising on different things. But now we have like different departments that we look after. So there's not really like a butt head situation. But yeah. So my risk level was very high for the first like 2 years. I love
Mm.
taking risks, but now we can't really go and take huge risk
Yeah, that's the
because
thing, right? You
you're
get bigger in the risk level, you can't take as much risk, you know? You have all these people around you and all this infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, I always say we've got, was it 30, 35 or 36 people to feed? You know, like if we
Yeah.
if we go under, then 35 people won't have food to eat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Especially
interesting though.
like, yeah, being young and having people that relies on you. It's probably
Mm.
one thing that I've learned pretty quickly.
So you say nowadays you're more risk intolerant than you are. It depends on the situation though, probably, right?
Yeah, more like calculated risk, I
Mm,
want to
mm,
say. I need to make sure that like there's enough in the bank account before I do anything. Like it's very easy to like be like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend money on this. I'm going to spend money on that. I'm going to buy this new software or
Mm.
something like that. But for me, it's always like, what's the percentage of revenue that that new thing's going to cost us? And then can we make our money back within the first kind of 3 months from it? And if those align, then we will do it.
Can you give me an example of kind of what something like that would look like that you're weighing out the options to?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess at the moment we built our own CRM from kind of scratch with a developer. So we've spent a lot of money on that, obviously, as you do
Yeah.
with development. So at the moment we're looking at potentially moving all that to HubSpot, which will kind of cost, well, we'll have to pay it upfront to build it, but then over a while it'll cost less with the integration, the
Mm-hmm.
um, other stuff and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, yeah. So now I'm just kind of calculating if
If it's worth
if
it.
it's like yeah, I guess that's kind of one example.
I'm also kind of wondering because when I was reading through your webpage, I saw a lot about disruption, and obviously the startup mindset is to disrupt the layout of whatever business you're in, right? So what were you looking to disrupt in the beginning, and then now what does that look like today?
Yeah, I think just getting out of that mold of like advising it's full of like very, very old
Mm.
people that's waiting to retire.
Mm-hmm.
They're always like mid to late 50s waiting to retire. So I guess that changing that mold that like getting advice shouldn't be boring. So I guess that's kind of a big one.
Right.
And just being different with the rest of the market. Like most of the bigger brokerages, they don't pay trail to the advisor. And I guess that's kind of how they make money. And so we just want to kind of be different,
Mm.
having more like a long-term perspective for
Mm.
each advisor. Like an advisor could come in, do 2 years, and have a decent trail now that they could spend some time in Bali or
Mm. Wherever they want, right?
yeah,
I see. Interesting. So you're kind of changing the mold a little bit. You're taking what people have done in the past and kind of, almost turning it on its head and kind of switching it up from what it's normally like.
yeah, that's exactly
Interesting.
right. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it does hurt our kind of like profitability on our side,
Mm.
but if you look at like grand scheme of things, it's
Right.
yeah, like it's less money, but over the long term, it's better for everyone. Everyone's happy.
Right. And I think it's super interesting to talk about long-term success. You got to think about your business as not in just the right now, it's 10 years ahead. You know what I'm saying? So that's super
Ye-
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Um, because we've been growing relatively fast in the last like couple months or
Mm.
last couple of years, sorry. So like it's very hard for us to plan anything more than 5 years.
Mm.
Yeah, because like for us at the moment, like a quarter feels like a year.
When you first got into the business, you first started it, is there anything that you look back on and you're like, man, that wasn't wise, or that wasn't a very profitable move?
Yeah, yeah. I think like so you know how when you like everyone when they start a business, for example, they want to get big,
Mm.
couple of offices and stuff like
Mm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So like in New Zealand, I call it the Trinity, like the Holy
Mm-hmm.
Trinity, where you have offices in Auckland, Christchurch, and Wellington,
Mm.
which is what we have now. But kind of looking back on it, there's no point of having three offices. It's
Mm.
just free office space that you have to pay for. Whereas like we could have been better having like an Auckland office, for example, just a really big office and just hire everyone from Auckland,
Mm.
rather than having three offices. Yeah, so kind of looking back on it, like I would probably just do one office and spend a lot more time on our own brand. I think we didn't really spend money on our brand until kind of like a year or 2 years ago. Whereas like we spend so much money on buying leads off people with other brands. So yeah, we should have spent a lot more time on our brand.
What do you mean by building your brand? What does that look like exactly for y'all, do you think?
Yeah, yeah. So I think just content,
Mm.
just so like people could like really see you, know you, and know the company that they're talking to before talking to them. Like, I haven't really been a big social media posting person, but I think like I've done a lot of LinkedIn
Hmm.
and done a lot of like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that in the last year or so. And like people just kind of start to recognize the brand, or like a client will come in and be like, "Oh, I'm talking to Invicta. I've seen that guy's face."
Right, 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 right,
When we bring in a new hire, they come in because they're like, I've seen your content.
right.
I really like the culture of the business. This kind of is what I want type thing.
Interesting.
I sometimes get like seen in public and people
Mm,
come up and say hi, which I think is pretty cool.
interesting. Yeah, super interesting. Small place, right? A lot of people, if you see it,
Yeah,
know who it is.
yeah, yeah. As long as I'm not like out drinking or something, I'll be happy to, I'll be
I'm
happy to say
curious
hi.
kind of how, because like in America, content is giant and it's been huge for like since 2020, I would say, since COVID. I'm curious since it's kind of a different, there's a different atmosphere over there. I'm curious how content, like, are people consuming content at the same rate that they are maybe in the States or in Australia or something like that? Or is it slower?
Yeah, I want to say it's like similar to Australia and America,
Mm,
because like people love scrolling through. I, I remember reading the stat that in New Zealand and Australia, young person, I think under the age of like 18, scrolls through a whole length of the Burj Khalifa every day.
the Burj Khalifa? That's
Yeah,
insane. That
and
is
that's
insane.
yeah.
That is
So
insane.
so that's kind of why we've been so like content heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Like with AI as well, like they scrape through content, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how you kind of get noticed. So that's why we're just going real heavy and hard on that front.
Do you push to your other associates? Do you ask them to, post on socials too? Are they active, or is everyone active, or is it just you and like your co-founder? I guess your co-founder said he doesn't really like to be in front of the camera, so I'm guessing he doesn't push a lot.
Yeah, yeah. We do have a couple that do a lot of posting on it. We try to encourage people to do it just to build up that personal brand, but like we can't hold them to
Yeah.
gunpoint to do it. So,
So it's been a little
so
bit
if
of
they,
it's been a little harder.
yeah, we try to help them out. Like we get like videographers to come in
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
do like a couple of videos. I just try to set an example just so they could do it. But I think most people have the analysis paralysis where they think, what happens if my two friends sees it
Yeah,
or
no,
something
no
like
lie,
that.
that's real. Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But how I've always looked at it is the algorithm is so good. Like the Facebook algorithm, the Instagram algorithm is so good, or the TikTok algorithm as well. Like unless your content is really good, no one would see it. So if you're making bad content, no one would see it apart from the two friends anyways.
Right.
So yeah, like why didn't you just do it until one blows up?
No, literally. And then it's like, I mean, then everyone sees it, right? If that happens,
Yeah,
if it blows up. Okay, cool. So when you first started, how long did it take for you to get your first like employee, non-founder employee?
yeah. I think it was like after 18 months, that's when we got our first like advisor.
Hmm.
Yeah, we it was one of those things that we never really wanted to grow a big team. It just kind of comes as, people want like management, got a new office and stuff like that. But it took us about 18 months before we could, I'll say, afford to,
Mm,
because it's expensive and
I
you
bet.
can't just get rid of them because you don't like them type thing.
Yeah, like you said, you might have some lawsuits coming after you if that happened, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Which is
you just have to go
interesting.
through, yeah, like a long
Like in
process.
Florida, you can fire somebody for whatever, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? And they can't
Yeah,
they can't really sue you.
really?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, unless you do it like unless you fire like a pregnant lady for not being able to work because she's on, maternity leave. If
yeah,
Yeah, they're pretty lenient with it here.
yeah. I think that's what it should be.
Hmm.
Or else like for us, like when we take on a new hire, we need to be really careful that it's the
Yeah.
right person. Like there's a 90-day trial period, but outside of that, if you want to fire someone, you kind of, it's like a 6 month process. And during that 6 months, they know that they're gonna be fired anyway, so they won't do anything.
Right. They're just making that little check for 6 months.
Yeah, or until they find a job, then they'll quit.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
you would say the legislation kind of is not focused around the business owner. It's more focused on the employees and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely not focused on business owners. It's like property as well. The government don't like property owners. And yeah, it's very employee focused. I always say it's just whatever there's more of, that's what the government focus on, so they could get re-elected. So there's more employee that there's more homeowners versus renters at the moment. But as soon as that switches, I'd say there'll be a lot more focus on renters than owners.
Right. Interesting. You talked about the systems you had to put in place to really scale to where y'all are today. I'm kind of curious, when was the first time you were like, okay, we need to make systems around these things so we can really scale to the level we want to be at.
Yeah. I want to say kind of after our first or second hire, because you know how like when you make your first hire, you always like, because you know every single part of the business, so you could teach people every single part of how this works, what you should do next, and stuff like that. But then after the second one, you get pretty annoyed and bored of like repeating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, that's kind of when we build out the systems, the processes, and they just came in time. It was very much like as it happened, that's when we built it out. And now we have like Loom videos to, it's like how to do every single thing that you need to do, which is really good. Just
How
so
long did that process take for you to do everything like that
it's been one of those things that we've just kind of improved year on
over
year on
time?
year.
Right.
Yeah, so I want to say it's like a four-year process.
Wow. It never stops though, wouldn't you say? I mean, as you grow more people, you have to change the processes and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and like when the regulation changed, you have to change that
Mm.
too. But we put everything into like a chat bot, kind of like a notebook LM type thing.
Right.
Just so like when a new person comes in, they can speak into it and
Mm.
the
Get
answer
everything
of
they
how to
need.
do the next thing. Yeah, and there's a
Interesting.
video that's attached.
Right. I've heard you talked a little bit about AI. I'm curious kind of how that's working over in New Zealand one and in your business too.
Yeah, we haven't used a lot of AI, to
Mm.
be honest,
Hmm.
due to the kind of like the whole privacy and security
Right.
with our industry.
Right.
Um, but we use like our CRM kind of links onto Gemini.
Mm.
So it does a lot of the heavy lifting for us, like the words and stuff like that.
Right.
And we get like independent audits that just looks over our files to make sure that we keep up with regulation.
Hmm.
So we do that. So they only pick a couple of files every quarter. So we've just basically got a bot to learn everything that we just basically upload everything that goes through in the audit, and
Right.
all the files from the Financial Market Authority and stuff like that. With that, just means that we could audit a lot more files. Yeah, and it's just quick. We literally just upload everything and it'll audit it. Then we send it to that person, and each person
Interesting.
gets a couple audits. Yeah,
Cool. So you
every
say it's
year.
more like internally you're using it as opposed to for actual external business.
Yeah, yeah, it's more internal. We've recently just one of my friends built us a kind of like an open claw
Mm.
machine that pulls like data just so we're daily financial reports. That's been a game changer.
Really?
Like daily reports on that advisor hasn't done anything yesterday. So we could be like, why did you not do anything yesterday? Or I
Yeah.
could pull through like the finance side of things, just so we keep on top of it.
Interesting. And,
Yeah.
and when you talk about, I'm kind of interested in how do you go about managing your employees? You know what I mean? Do you have managers put in place to kind of overlook people, or are you like kind of the manager that overlooks everybody, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, so we have got, I think, four or five managers across the country, and each one kind of manage about 4 to 5 different people, and those managers kind of report to me or Tom, my co-founder, which does make it good. but I guess like people do still come to me. Yeah, which I time block about 2 hours every day where I just go and answer any questions that they might have. But yeah, yeah.
Interesting. What your relationship is with like who's it, how to find a good manager? Is it useful here, or is it better to just keep it linear and everyone kind of on the same page, and then you're just kind of telling
Yeah.
people how to go about their business, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think managers are important. It's just because like for my day, there's only so many hours and like my bandwidth is only so big. So like yeah, without managers, I think we've probably toppled over a long time ago. But I think like for most people, I look at it as like a cup. Most people have like a cup and that's the amount of time that they have. So for me, if I pour everything out of my cup to one person, that person will get a lot of knowledge. Whereas like my bandwidth is 4 to 5 people every day, for example, and that I could talk to before I run out of time or just get annoyed. So kind of like how I always look at it is with my bandwidth now, I could pour my knowledge and the water from my cup to 5 people.
Right.
Then they could use whatever that knowledge to distribute to their 5 people.
Right. You talk about knowledge. I'm kind of interested what do you think was the best way you learned about the industry or just entrepreneurship, building business in general?
Yeah, I don't think I've learned it yet. I used to read a lot of, like listen to a lot of audiobooks and like read 7 different books and just take wee little golden nuggets from each one, and kind of implement it. Or I spend a lot of time, taking like other people that have done the same thing, out for coffees or kind of out for dinners or lunches just to
Mm.
get into the head and see how they operate such big business before. But now I'm a bit lazier, so instead of a 5 hour audiobook, I just upload it to Notebook LM and it gives me like a 15-minute podcast.
Interesting, really. And it spits you out a
Yeah.
podcast. That's smart.
Yeah. Oh, it saves me so much time.
I don't know how I haven't thought of that. I've never thought about uploading it. I thought you were gonna say it gave you like a like a breakdown of notes, but the podcast is so that's intuitive.
Yeah. It breaks down to a podcast and it's like 2 people speaking as well. So it's not
Mm,
like a audiobook where it's just one person. It's like
right.
2 people having a conversation. It's the best thing I've discovered.
Interesting. Okay, so like I only have a few more questions, but one that I was really curious about is how do you make sure that an employee that you hire is the right fit for Invicta? You know what I mean? Like you said, there's that 90-day trial period and there's a lot of legislation around kind of keeping you from just firing whoever you want. How do you make sure that they're the right fit?
Yeah, we always go through like a 3 interview process, and they're all done with different people. So to go through the whole interview process before they get hired, they'll speak to 4 different people in the company. And for us, we've got like a collective hiring process where unless every single person agree, we won't take them on. I guess that's probably the biggest change that we've made. And as well, like with our core values, we just basically, that's one of the scorecards that we have for person coming in. We ask them questions and we score them, depends on like if they fit our values. And if they score above a certain amount, then they move on to next stage. So like with us, everyone has to be ambitious, obviously, because it's a high sales
Right.
environment. You have to do everything with excellence. Integrity plays a big part as well. I like treat people how you want to be treated. Yeah, so that's, oh, and respect as well. Respect the people that's around you. There's no point of starting rumors. There's no point of just talking behind people's backs because
Mm.
it's not helping anyone.
Right. Have you noticed as you've gotten more people, under you, have you noticed that you've had to do a little bit more of that intrapersonal stuff as opposed to just focusing on the business all around? Like what does your day look like day to day with that?
Yeah, yeah. Interpersonal stuff, definitely. I'm definitely not very good at the whole like keeping people happy, and
Mm.
I'm very good at saying things the way it sounds rather than massaging it in.
Right.
So that's definitely been one of the hardest things for me. But I guess that's what the managers are for.
Right.
But for me, anyways, I have it on my calendar, twice a week, I think, just to say something nice to people. just just so I remember.
Right, you're forcing yourself to do it in case you forget.
Yeah, yeah, but definitely like mine's personal skills sucks. I'm not yeah, to be honest, I'm not very good at it. But my kind of day to day at the moment is just like I spend the morning kind of answering any questions that people might have. Yeah, like any advisor might have. Then what else? I normally have like a content block for like an hour, 2 hours twice a week where I just go and film content with the videographer or just write out like blogs and stuff like that. Then in the afternoon it's just replying to emails.
Cool. How has that
Yeah.
changed over time? Your day to day?
Yeah, so I used to like be very advice focused where I'm like seeing clients and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
which that took out basically most of my bandwidth. But I think for now it's just a lot of meetings that I don't want to go to.
Mm,
Like I have meetings with like providers, I have meetings with like different funds.
interesting.
Yeah, that doesn't really fill my cup. It's one
Mm-hmm.
of those things that I have to go. I think some meetings you have to have,
Mm.
anyways. But I like the meetings I don't have to have. I always think like, is it gonna move the needle? Like, is it gonna benefit myself or the business? And because I get messages all the time on like LinkedIn of like just younger people want to catch up for coffee, which like it's okay, but I can't be having 6 or 7 coffees every day. I have a heart attack. So I've started doing this new thing. So instead of having coffees, I just get them to come into the office and they could just use the office space. And it's been pretty good. Then I could just go and talk to them when I have time rather than like me setting aside half an hour
Right.
um, to meet with someone that if I don't like them, I have to spend the next half an hour with them. Whereas like now, if they come into the office, if I don't like them, then I just go back into my room.
Just wait for them to leave.
Yeah, yeah, wait for them to bring me a coffee or something.
That's hilarious. All right, one of my last questions is do you have any like idols? Like who do you look up to in the business space?
Yeah, yeah. I think New Zealand wise, I really look up to like John Key, which is one of the old prime ministers. He was a great investment banker prior, and now he sits on a couple of boards. I think another guy that's a New Zealander, he lives in America. It's a guy that owns Zuru, like toy company. That's really cool. But in America, I think just the same as what everyone else says, right? Just Elon
Elon
Musk.
Musk. Yeah, world's best
Yeah,
entrepreneur, right?
just he's so switched on for like the amount that he has on.
Yeah, is that what you
Um,
say you look up to Elon the most for? Is just how much he can do in one day, the amount that he gets done?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
And like sports team coaches, I think I look up to them.
Interesting.
Because like you're always looking after different people. Because in
Right.
like an American football team, everyone is different. Like the quarterback is different to the tight end, for example.
Right, right.
So like just being able to switch it up just so you keep everyone happy,
Mm-hmm. And like
which
playing
must
to
be hard.
everybody's strengths too, right? Like understanding what they're good at, putting them in a position where they can win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I think is something that I struggle with that I'm like constantly learning this year.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. That's definitely a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I think this is my last question. Is there anything like words of advice, anything like that you would leave young people with?
yeah. I think just keep going and things will get better soon.
Mm,
Like I always say, it's delayed gratification with business.
mm,
Like you're always the last person to get paid, and people don't know that. And you're gonna have hard days, and you're gonna have days that you want to kind of quit. But for me, it's just you just keep going, and the sunshine will come eventually. Yeah, yeah, and just make risk, take calculated risk, and just go through those hard days. It'll pass, and you won't remember it.
perfect. I love that.
Yeah,
No, that's so true. It's like you have to get, you just have to keep going, right? Or you're never, if you don't wait, 10 years, 6 years, 5 years, you know what I mean? Then it's most likely not gonna, it's not gonna go the way you thought it was.
yeah, yeah. Just takes time.
It takes time, a lot of time.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Lucas. I know it's kind of early there in New Zealand right now.
Yeah, I'm an early riser, so it's
Really
perfect.
nice. I love that. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate your time.